Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of ND and ABA, your go-to podcast for insightful discussions on autism advocacy and applied behavior analysis. I'm your host, Martin, and alongside me is my co-host, Daniel. Welcome, Daniel.
Hey, Martin, and aloha, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to be diving into the intricate world of ABA therapy and autism support.
Perfect, Daniel. Today, we have a great topic lined up. The controversies surrounding ABA therapy sparked by two groundbreaking articles, Scrolling into Trouble and the argument over a long-standing autism intervention.
Absolutely. These articles have ignited some really intense debates within our community of both analysts and neurodiverse individuals, shedding light on ethical dilemmas and the marginalization of neurodiverse voices within the field of ABA itself.
Exactly. So let's start by unpacking Scrolling into Trouble. The, this eye-opening piece published by EJBA brought to light some troubling practices within ABA. So Daniel, what are your initial reactions when you read this article?
So it's not so much eye opening in the sense that they had such accurate information. In fact,
Mhm.
it more sheds light on the fact that industry giants in the field are making solid attempts to potentially suppress and even bully analysts in the field within the neurodiverse community who have
Mhm.
openly spoken up and presented information that casts ABA in a negative light.
Mhm.
The thing to note here is, as I'm sure you might have some experience with yourself, Martin,
Mhm.
is that these are lived experiences of neurodiverse individuals, and there doesn't have to be a scientific study in order for their opinions to be validated when expressed publicly.
Right.
Uh, Very disheartening to see industry giants in the Scrolling into Trouble article uh, openly funding and antagonizing the individuals who are making efforts to make the field more inclusive and
Right.
potentially, better the field as a result.
Right.
So again, it's very disheartening that in January that happened, but there are some positive notes. In February this year, the New Yorker actually published a response article known as "The Argument Over a Longstanding Autism Intervention,"
Right.
and it was a lot more objective. It cast both sides of the argument in sort of a relevant light that both displayed the concerns over ABA as well as some of the benefits that do apply to many individuals, over the broad spectrum of needs that autism and neurodiversity may entail.
Right. Right. Yeah, when I first read that, I was a little surprised. I'm going to be honest, because I really thought that neurodiverse people working in ABA can be used as like insightful as to try to figure out different ways instead of the more robotic approach to ABA. And I will admit, if ABA should be more play based and less robotic. And I say that because what I do in some of my um with some of my clients, let's just say they like Dora the Explorer, right? And so I pick the three most important goals to work on, ranging from least important to most important. And we kind of turn into like we're part of the Dora the Explorer show, kind of like we make our own episode. And so we do the first one, and then the map shows us, okay, it's time for a break and so on. And then we'd maybe do two or three more. And then the one that needs help the most, then that'll be the last. So kind of like building up to help them. And at the very end, they have free play. It's seen some very incredible results from it.
Wow. Well, I love Dora the Explorer, and might I say, mucho gusto, right?
Hmm.
I love watching Dora with my clients as well. She's also one of my favorite figures to draw in Pictionary. I find she's a very easy person to recognize with her semicircle haircut, and
Yep.
she's always a favorite. That's Dora right away.
Yep.
Easy to deliver reinforcement. And I'm glad you brought that up. Being a clinical worker in the autism field yourself, I'm sure you are able to provide a very unique perspective and support for your clients,
Yep.
with empathy and understanding that possibly makes a huge impact, as opposed to somebody without knowledge of what it might be like to exist in a community that has a marginalized voice in ABA, right?
Right.
So
Eh,
as a BCBA, I understand, exactly how that can be challenging for a clinician.
Yep. And one more thing I wanted to point out too is there are different things that I've been trying, but I don't do them in front of my clinical team. I get a little nervous that it's hard to explain. And what I'm trying to say is when I tell them it's not right to take away what they used to come to, because if you take away something that comes down, it's just going to escalate the situation.
Uh,
And I just tell them, what, we'll just give him a break, just give him some more time with his or with their let's just say iPad, just to calm them down. Because if you take it and they're having a meltdown, it's going to be a lot worse, and it's going to be hard to control the situation and also get back on track from when the antecedent happened.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, as a clinician, I know de-escalation often hinges upon validating someone's emotions first and foremost, and
Right.
possibly a lot of this contingency-related controversy in ABA is hinged upon the taking away things as a result of not performing the desired behaviors or actions. And this causing trauma as well as other rigid approaches, being that now a individual who's experienced this may expect certain things to be taken away for them, or an unpleasant situation to arise if somebody is to, let's say, give them a prompt such as do this, something vaguely conceptual in ABA that's used often, or potentially a commonly used reinforcer like good job may have now carrying a negative connotation, be producing fear-based responses. This is not new information, and clinicians are
Right.
commonly trained upon this. I'm sure when you entered the field, they told you to vary your reinforcers and you don't want to
Yep.
be too repetitive. This is the reason why, when you have repetitive exposure to the same type of programming that's rigid over and over again, of course that's going to start to shape some of your behavior in a unpleasant way, making it so that you want to avoid these monotonous interactions. The monotonous nature of it actually becomes somewhat of a punisher that can perceive, to the individual as being something that is wasting their time, is
Right.
taking away their dignity, maybe violating their space,
Right.
and in many cases, it's important to let them have a voice, which is why I'm so glad you brought it up.
Hmm.
Because when these people are speaking out, when the people have gone through ABA, when they've developed acumen in the field, and they've risen up to a level where they can talk about it at a panel like Cal ABA or something like
Right.
that. And now we do have them talking at APBA, and it's a large improvement.
Right.
But when that's taken away, and when the reason it is based on bullying from an organization who's supposed to support autistic individuals.
Hmm.
It's, again, extremely discouraging, disheartening information. And I'm just so glad to see the response in the field overall has been to actually raise these individuals up, make sure that people know it's not okay to silence their voice, and it's certainly not okay to use the ethical code of conduct for
Right,
behavior
right,
analysts to do so, right? That's
right,
not misinformation, that's a lived experience. I think misinformation, right? Let's give an example of it. Misinformation. I would tell everybody that my name is Kupla and I'm wearing a red shirt. That's um, that's disinformation. I'm Daniel. I'm wearing a blue shirt, and I admit that when I said that before, that was disinformation. But this is the truth when I say I'm wearing a blue shirt. It's not hinged upon a scientific study. I don't need to take a poll uh, of the audience to know
right,
that I'm wearing a blue shirt, and neither do neurodiverse individuals need to have resource cited in order to state that their lived experience with ABA therapy was
right,
unpleasant for them. And it's also okay for people to say that that was a source of trauma.
right.
Um, it's another thing that involves transparency, where now in the field we're all trying to evoke trauma-informed practices. Acknowledging people's past experiences, some of them being traumatic, some of them being maybe related to ABA.
Mhm.
That's an era of transparency that I think is very much important in keeping us all accountable. And,
Right.
uh, and I'm so glad the New Yorker had the article over the longstanding argument,
Mhm.
stating that it is longstanding, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And outlining both sides very evenly, allowing a PBA to approach this conversation a lot more objectively, scientifically, ethically, right, and to promote
right,
the neurodiverse community, right.
right.
Uh, so I don't know if you heard much about it, but it's happening right now, actually.
Oh, wow.
Ending today, a PBA, and in New Orleans, it's going quite well. My colleague, bearded behaviorist, he's going to be showing up on a course that we're doing together. So keep your eyes out for that CEU. But he's out there right now. He's over at a panel with Spectrum Success with some other neurodiverse analysts, Dr. Shelby Dorsey as
Mhm.
well, and Dr. Do Better, if you guys follow her on TikTok. They're all out there raising awareness, raising perspectives out there for the neurodiverse community. And again, it's just so encouraging now to see that coming out after the first quarter of this year.
And that should be interesting. I'm looking forward to tuning into that. Now, before we continue, I also wanted to say one more thing that can help new behavior analysts as they start their career. The key to your client in the first week or two is rapport building. Rapport is very crucial because you're walking into this kid's home, and at first they're going to think like, what is a stranger doing in my house, And so rapport building, just play games with them, figure out from the parent what they like, and if it's not a fit, that is totally okay. Not every ABA person will be a fit with that specific client, and just don't feel discouraged if that's the case, and don't even worry about taking data at first, because rapport building is key. And
Absolutely. And I love what you said about preference too, there, right? Rapport, preference. ABA is ideally, and it is designed to be an experience of positive rapport and having an experience of preference to the activities that you are engaging in. So
exactly.
if it's highly non-preferred ABA therapy, maybe it's not the fit for this person.
Right,
It's not for everybody. If it's not helping their behavior, it's not helping their health, it's not helping
right,
them feel better with their family feel better with them. It's not feeling good, right?
right,
Maybe not the best fit. And there are other services, right, designed to help other than ABA. There's custodial support, there's OT, PT, there's SIT, sensory integrative therapy as well, that does wonders for many. Even music therapy, I've seen that have a wonderful approach. Myself, I'm a big fan of certain ABA methods like NCR that take a more gentler approach without giving prompts, with
Right.
modifying just environment. NCR, you don't have a contingency, non-contingent reinforcement,
Hmm.
is one of the main principles of my organization, Da Vinci NCR, and I find that it's applicable in a lot of those situations where, okay, traditional programming, that's not an option here. Let's try something a little outside the box, but something they're gonna like, And I really think if you have somebody enriching your environment, someone who likes you, you feel you like them, then that's a positive therapy experience. I think that's the rapport. I think that's so important. You're mentioning here, Martin. And I bet you
Right.
have excellent rapport. Just hearing your comments about Dora and your clients, and I mean, I love Dora because she had good rapport with me just watching her as a kid. Right? She tells you what to do, and she's like, "Great job, mucho gusto," muy
Right.
bien,
Right.
and you're making hot chocolate.
And you know what? You're right. But before we finish off our first episode, I just wanted to say something important. ABA is meant for some and not all.
Absolutely, Martin. I'm glad you brought that up. There's always a sort of conversation out there of whether ABA is not a one size fit all approach, and I think what people are actually getting on there is there is a spectrum of support services offered to those with autism and those in need of help with their behavioral health as well. For those with autism, we have to consider people with profound autism as well as those who have low support needs, right? And those who
Right.
are able to work and sustain um, full paying jobs and go to college, like yourself, Martin,
Hmm.
and do wonderful things, activism. Even it doesn't mean that that people don't need support, though. It just means that there's lower support needs, and people need to acknowledge that. That also means there's those with very high 24-hour day support needs, right? 7 day a
Yeah.
week support needs. And yeah, again, the Profound Autism Society does a lot of great work with them. Having services and resources for people with profound autism and raising awareness that that is a large percentage of the population as well. Do you have anything you wanted to say about your activism in the area recently before we go, Martin?
Definitely. So I started a company called Spire Autism. And so the stuff I've been doing is meeting with state senate, meeting with the mayor here in San Jose, and we're working on having the city of San Jose declare April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And so the government or the mayor and staff are going to help bring more awareness and inclusion to the Autism Society and to help get their voices heard. And I also work with different sports teams to promote autism acceptance. I mean, just been invited to speak at the Portland Trailblazers game as a guest speaker for their first ever autism night, their autism
Wow.
acceptance night. And so they wanted, they heard about me, they wanted me to do this. And so I'll be speaking pre-game to multiple autism families out there.
Wow, how about that? I know one true Portland Trailblazers fan, my old math teacher, Mr. Crones from
Mhm.
sixth or seventh grade, who will certainly love to see that out there at the game.
April 9th. Yep.
Cool. But also your proclamation in Santa Clara, right, where you're located, it
Yeah.
really warms my heart. I come from that area, working in ABA for a long time. After UC Santa Cruz, I graduated, worked there for about 2 years, moved out here to Honolulu,
Hmm.
and I've been working out here since 2022 summer. And absolutely, my heart goes out to anybody practicing in any state across the United States or internationally right now who's feeling an air of what they call clinical guilt. And
It's totally normal to feel that in this new time where we are taking the time to listen. And I think if you're feeling that, you should actually pat yourself on the back.
Um, I do want to leave off with this quote for any autistic specialist that is in ABA right now or getting ready to hop in. If you are stuck or don't know what to do, just don't be afraid to reach out to your clinical team. I learned the hard way by doing things on my own, not knowing what to do in the beginning because my clinical team wasn't really available at the times of my sessions. And so after keeping it to myself, I just didn't know what to do until they overlapped me maybe 4 or 5 months in. But reach out and don't be afraid to message them for guidance if you need it, because that can really be beneficial early on.
Absolutely. And on that note, I know some great resources for mentors out there. There's Behavior Lifestyle, Behavior with the U, because let's not forget they spell it differently across the pond and all over the world outside the United States.
Yep, yep.
And it's run by a colleague of mine, QBA, named Schubert, who's very professional. She has a potty training book out now in French. You can look for it on Amazon as well, and we'll put the links in the description for you guys. If you're looking for a mentor, education, you want a practical experience in the field, that might be a great option. There's also CEUs through Vinci NCR services. You can check the link as well for those. You can take our recent guide to bedtime woes for parents and BCBAs. It's got knowledge from certified behavior sleep specialist Michael Summers. We can also check him out at Summers Behavior Consulting, another great resource. And let's not forget Bearded Behaviorist. Go and check him out on Instagram at Bearded Behaviorist, TikTok, and LinkedIn, and see his activism in the area too. Promoting neurodiverse perspectives is something that we can all participate in, and something that really, really shows a positive impact, I think. You can also check out Martin. Keep an eye out for him. He'll be out there in the Special Olympics, Northern California. We're all rooting for you, Martin. And
I appreciate it.
anything else we can look out for?
Um, for those who want to know more about me or about Daniel, follow us on Instagram. For mine, it's Martin's Autism Life. And that is all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Martin Slyngstad.
And I'm Daniel Zimmerman.
Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. And one more thing, ABA is meant for some and not all.
Absolutely. Can't wait to talk again next week.
Perfect.
Aloha,
Take
everybody.
care.